The session topic is Atmanirbhar in manufacturing self-reliant solar industry. For this, we have our moderator, Mr. Rishabh Jain, who is Manager, Market Intelligence, CEEW, CEF. May I request Mr. Rishabh Jain to come up on the dais, please? Mr. Rishabh Jain is a public policy practitioner with a keen interest in renewable energy. He leads the market intelligence vertical of Center for Energy Finance at Council on Energy, Environment and Water. Rishabh's interest lies in closely tracking the market and working closely with policymakers and market participants in the solar, wind, EV and energy storage sector. Our moderator, Mr. Rishabh Jain. Speakers, we have Shri Pradeep Kumar Das from IREDA. Pradeep Kumar Das from IREDA. Mr. Sujoy Ghosh. Mr. Sunil Badesra. And Mr. Chintan Shah.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for deciding a very important topic of domestic solar manufacturing. I have a stellar panel here, and one thing that we would want to probably discuss today is, given the changes in the regulatory structure and the mechanisms that have taken place recently, what are probably the next steps that the government should undertake so that, say, by 2030, we are more or less reliant domestically on domestic solar modules in the country. So what I'll do is, the way, if this is okay with all the speakers, I'll probably ask you for quick intervention and maybe quick points on what do you think are maybe one key gap, and what do you think can be the one new intervention that the government can probably come up with, given that the BCD is already implemented, but even then probably we would need to do a bit more. So maybe you can start by sharing your thoughts. Maybe I can start with Mr. Shah first, and then we'll go from right to left.
Thank you. Just one thing is very clear. Solar is going to here to stay. And the market that has been created now and the enablers essentially in terms of stakeholders, because just putting up a solar project requires lots of other things like equity investments, debt instruments, the EPC providers, the infra. So a lot of things are required apart from manufacturing. The good part is in the last couple of years we have created these entire enablers. Those enablers are there. So as far as the market is concerned, the market is going to be there. Now, coming to the manufacturing side, yes, the manufacturing has again a different sort of a tenet, and all manufacturers would essentially look at what is the market size they can access to. So, the CPSC scheme, the PLI to be announced by the government, as well as the BCD trajectory. These three are another essential enablers for the manufacturers to come in. So, one thing is clear, you have a local market, a market which has got a tremendous offtake. We can, I think today India can easily absorb 10 to 15 gigawatt of projects on a yearly basis. So that's something the market is there today. Apart from that, there is an export market from India. Most of the manufacturers who have set up manufacturing units in India are also exporting to European countries as well as to US. So that is going to continue, and rather it can strengthen further. So this is the right time when the market is there, and with these particular setups provided by the government in terms of BCD trajectory as well as proposed PLI and a renewed interest towards the entire Atmanirbhar. So these are, I think, the best time possible for anybody who is looking at investment in manufacturing units in India. So, and I think time is ripe. And yes, these things will keep on iterating. As and when required, the corrections would come in, because one thing is clear, solar is going to stay, the renewables is going to stay in the overall trajectory of the country itself. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Shah. Mr. Das, your thoughts?
I'll start with the concept that what is this Atmanirbhar Bharat? Atmanirbhar, first of the self-belief, self-confidence. So that's a feeling. So that speaks the level of commitment we have. See, this commitment is coming from none other than from our Honorable Prime Minister himself, who is so passionate and so committed and so determined that by 2022, 175 or 2030, 450 gigawatt. So ultimately by 2030, 40% have to be from non-fossil. So that means this demand size is quite huge. And the level of awareness what it is required for usage of renewable energy in India, probably so far it has not been done. And recently Ministry of Power and Ministry of Renewable Energy together has taken up a plan to have a communication strategy which includes right of the consumers, then rooftop solar, and then PM Kusum. Kusum is that agricultural sector basically, solarizing the agricultural sector. See, largely our economy is based on agriculture earlier. So more you convert the agriculture into the solar mode, and more the benefit it will come. Not only that, poorest of the poor will get benefited, which is the ultimate objective of this. And country like India, where the largest population in the world, so even today also, the power consumption, if you see, the per capita power consumption is pretty low comparing to developed countries. And we are reasonably better developing now, better developed what we are before 10 years or 20 years or 50 years. And last 5 to 6 years, particularly renewable sector has grown phenomenally, especially solar. And now the time is for this others also like compressed biogas, bioenergy, CBG, all etc. See, coming to this, when the commitment is coming from Government of India and none other than the Prime Minister, that push for investment in the sector will be definitely be. Earlier, people used to see what will happen to the government policy and all if you do. Because when you are setting up a manufacturing setup, you should have a guaranteed sources to supply. That means there should be a market demand in reasonable sense of guarantee should be there, then only one will be there. Apart from that, how you are hand-holding and encouraging them. Like we in IREDA, today our rate of interest is lesser than all big players like RECPFC. Why I say RECPFC? Because they are considered to be the two gigantic NBFC in the power sector. So by saying that, we being part of the MNRE, and we are very much integral part of MNRE as far as development renewable in the country. And most of the policies, even our director technical is instrumental in this, be it CPSE policy or even Kusum policy, whatever is there. And in last 3 months, we have given more than 1,000 crore to our existing solar manufacturer borrowers who are into solar manufacturing, be it PV modules, PV cells. And one of our borrowers is from Wari, which Mr. Doshi is, I think, one of the speaker who is joining from VC. So Mr. Joshi will confirm what I am talking now. See, Government of India as well as IREDA and even RBI, they have also considered in priority sector this Satat scheme. So that means entire machinery in the system, everybody is working towards supporting this activity. So I am sure the time to come, as far as funding is concerned, financing is concerned, that will not be a constraint. And more stable policy and timely resolution of the problems also. In any manufacturing activity, there will be always some unforeseen situation, maybe policy, whatever, because we are living in the era of globalization. If something is happening in the other corner of the world, that impact we get here also. So taking care of those things and very good culture our Honorable Minister of Power and MNRE has made, that he does all sectoral heads meet periodically. I think in once in couple of months or once in 3 months. We in IREDA also do all borrowers meet every 3 months. So these cultural changes in IREDA as well as other agencies who are driving this development of renewable energy in the country, they are working quite actively. So I am quite confident the time to come, we are going to achieve the target of 450 gigawatt by 2030 and this Atmanirbhar Bharat of Government of India. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Das. I'll come to you, Sujoy, but maybe if I can ask a very specific question. So, what Mr. Shah and Mr. Das spoke about are both supply chain and the demand side intervention that the government has been undertaking. In supply side, we of course saw this, if we can somehow manage by imposing maybe safeguard duty or BCD, basic customs duty, can that support the domestic manufacturing? And similarly, they spoke about the CPSU scheme or the Kusum scheme. Maybe in the first round, if you could talk about the impact of safeguard that you think had on the sector, or maybe the future impact that BCD can probably have on the sector. And do you think this is the first right step towards becoming self-reliant in the sector? Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Rishabh, and would like to thank Exhibition India and ITPO for inviting First Solar into this session. I think, as one of the prospective investors, we're part of the Solar Module Super League. First Solar is one of the Super League players globally. And we have been looking at India from a potential manufacturing destination for the last about 2 to 3 years. I think we are very excited about the trajectory of the policy which has been announced by MNRE in terms of 3 things, right? You have certain amount of tariffs in terms of basic custom duty, which are long-term tariffs, which will be imposed to create a level playing field with imports. Combined with that, you have the production-linked incentives, which will help us and help the domestic industry be cost competitive, right? Because at the end of the day, imposition of custom tariffs cannot be an excuse for inefficient cost, right? And if that continues for too long, ultimately consumers will find a way out. So in the combination of certain amount of restrictions on imports, coupled with the incentives which will make the domestic industry cost competitive. And then the third and the most important piece of this whole policy is also the ALLM, which is basically the quality control order, which will drive a lot of compliance to standards and qualities, and more importantly, enforceability of those standards. I mean, the biggest challenge I think India faces with 80-85% of the solar imports, and most of them coming from one country, is really enforcing those contracts. What happens if there is a warranty issue? What happens if there is, quality issues? As a consumer, it's very hard to, enforce those contracts, especially in a country where enforceability of contracts is very, very suspect. But having said all of this, so I think safeguard duty or anti-dumping are limited, and really clearly the safeguard duty was very short term. It did not have the effect of creating new investments in manufacturing. What it did was it helped the existing supply chain to tide over a very short-term crisis, right? Basic custom duty is more long-term, and I think that coupled with the other two, which is the vision of MNRE, should be able to create and generate new investments into PV manufacturing, which would be more competitive from a cost structure because of technology. Technology has rapidly changed over the last 3, 4, 5 years. So I think overall I would say yes, the answer is yes. We do see that India would be a destination for manufacturing investments just given the size of the market. But I think there are a couple of, I would still say, concerns which foreign investors like us have. I think number one is you got to revive the demand, right? COVID cannot be an excuse for doing 6 gigawatts. And if you're looking at now, we're saying, well, 450 gigawatts or 27 gigawatts per year, where is the capacity to absorb that kind of demand, right? I mean, US, China, Europe, despite COVID, have actually increased their installations in 2020. India dropped from 9.5 gigawatts to 6. And oh, by the way, so since 2017, we've seen a steady decline in annual installs in India. Somehow solar is running out of steam, and I think we all know what the issues are in terms of, the PPA issues, the backlog of uncontracted projects and all of that. So I think reviving that, putting our house in order is extremely important before we really think about the future. The second thing is a lot of these regulatory announcements which have happened are more announcements. They have not been converted into regulations as yet. And I think, as you look at policy in India, it's always the fine print which matters. So how the basic custom duty will be implemented on the ground, how ALLM will be implemented on the ground, how the PLI would be implemented. I mean, IREDA is sitting on the dais. Who would disburse the money? What's the process going to be? So yes, all these things are still not clear, right? And as investors, I think everybody looks for two things. They look for clarity and long-term stability of those policies. And unfortunately, on the solar side, we've seen the exact opposite of it in the last 3 years, with PPAs getting cancelled, bids getting reneged, to the extent the manufacturing tender, which was I would say the showcase project for getting manufacturing investments, still not signed, and PPAs are being renegotiated. So this gives a very bad optics externally when you're looking at attracting foreign investments. But having said that, I would say I think this last 1 month of announcements from MNRE, extremely positive, extremely welcome. But we'll got to look at the fine print, and I would urge MNRE and the stakeholders to really start defining the policy in terms of then what investors can look for as law and move forward.
Thank you so much, Sujoy, for covering so much in a short period of time. I'll move to Mr. Badesra. One thing we often, I would say, miss out when we talk about solar manufacturing, it's mostly the modules that mostly people think about, the default image in the head. But at the same time, what we saw in the budget, that the BCD on solar inverters also increased to 20% at the same time. Now, of course, the BCD before that was limited 5%. You already have a inverter manufacturing facility in the country. Now, what was the incentive of setting a facility with limited BCD? And given the increased BCD, do you think companies like Sungrow and others would start ramping up their facility?
Yeah, so thanks, Rishabh, for giving this question to me. So before I come to your question, I just want to give a small 1-minute brief about the company. Sungrow is a global technology-driven company, which is having presence in more than 120 countries, and which is a global shipment of more than 150 gigawatt, which is highest in the world as on today. And coming to there are different verticals out there in Sungrow. So sometimes I've seen people get confused. I'm representing the Sungrow inverter and PV battery storage division. So we have different other verticals, floating, project development, and many others. So coming to your question, the motivation, the incentive which was behind when we took the decision of putting up this big setup in India 3 years back. So I want to go back in 2014 when Mr. Modi announced that this Make in India mission should come in India, and 15 when he made an announcement that this capacity the target, which was the renewable target he has taken in solar, it was 20 gigawatt to 100 gigawatt was extended. So that was the phase when Sungrow was exploring the India market. And 2015 we started our Indian operations when this announcement was made by our Honorable Prime Minister. And after that 2 years we explored that how market moves, and finally we took a decision in 2017 that yes, we need to start the local manufacturing setup considering the biggest potential which India market is having. So in 2018 we established this factory in India, but there were few loopholes in the policy which was made by government that despite having the local manufacturing setup in India, all the developer and EPCs were preferring to take inverters outside India, from outside India. The reason was when they were importing the inverters, it was becoming more cheaper than taking the Make in India inverters. So we are fortunate enough that after 3 years of experience in the manufacturing in India, finally government has made this announcement in the February month that now duty has been increased from 5 to 20%. So immediately last year when we got to know that the target by Indian government has been increased from 100 to 450 gigawatt in renewable field. So we have further our plan, and we have already made announcement in this year that in another maybe few months we are going to have this 10 gigawatt setup in India ready. And all this, the motivation which we have behind is that the potential which India market is carrying. So we know that potential is there in this industry, in this market. So that is the major thing, and inverter being one of the major heart of any project plant, any solar project plant. So definitely it makes sense to have local setup in inverter as well. So though inverter doesn't contribute much in terms of percentage when we talk about the project plant cost, it's just maybe 5 or 4% these days. But it is the major component which always help the developers in optimizing their project cost. That is the reason why a recent tariff of 1.99, which has been achieved by few developers in India. So inverter is one of the major component which has helped them in achieving this tariff. So inverter plays very vital role in optimizing the cost, and so it makes more sense to have local setup in India, and that is what Sungrow has finally achieved. And I'm very proud to say that it's the first company to have such a big 10 gigawatt setup in India in inverters. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sunil. Do we have Mr. Doshi virtually? No. Okay, not a problem. So maybe I'll come back to Mr. Shah, to you. And taking a cue from what Sujoy said earlier, the challenge around certainty around policy has been a major concern for the sector, not just for manufacturers, but also for developers. But if I can probably touch upon few policies which directly plan to incentivize domestic manufacturing, maybe the manufacturing linked tenders or the CPSU scheme or the KUSUM scheme per se. Unfortunately, the policy has not scaled up or maybe not supported as it was envisioned in the start. So maybe if you could shed some light on what worked, what did not, and what is probably the next steps that IREDA or MNRE is thinking on these front.
Thank you. See, I agree. I mean, if you see a particular policy might have its own sets of challenges. But if you see the consistency of the policy that has been brought out, that essentially tells you the intent of the government. The intent of the government is very clear, that they would like to push more and more solar manufacturing, push major amount of stakeholders to get involved in this journey, and try to resolve any implementation issues that might come in. Now, every policy would have its implementation challenges, and these challenges gets resolved as you move ahead. And to that matter, even KUSUM had got its own sets of challenges. For example, KUSUM model has been picked up majorly by Rajasthan because it suits them. Maharashtra is trying to adopt KUSUM in its own manner. So what is important is, yes, there is a prescription given by the government for the KUSUM component A, B and C. However, at the same time, since India being a federal country, they are also allowing the state to modify the scheme to suit to their needs. So whole idea is to solarize agriculture pump set. That's the intent of the policy. The implementation framework may vary from a state to state. And this is where you evolve things as you proceed ahead. So KUSUM is one part. CPSU scheme, the manufacturing link tender. Now, one has to also appreciate that the government is equally agile with the industry. Industry is changing so fast. And the policy also need to be equally nimble-footed to essentially communicate back to the market. What was unheard of, unthoughtful 1 year back has made it possible today by announcing a BCD trajectory. Now, BCD trajectory was not coming up from last 4 years. That I think industry should also appreciate that. But now the government has made it very clear that we will have a BCD trajectory, and a BCD trajectory definitely is giving a more certain for sales for any manufacturing unit to come up in India. CPSE tender or a manufacturing link tender was for a limited megawatts or a limited gigawatts. Now, based on this limited gigawatts, people may not end up investing into manufacturing units, because what happens after 10 gigawatt, or to that matter, what happens after 12 gigawatt, we have a much larger target to achieve. Now, in order to achieve this target on a long-term basis, I think BCD trajectory plays a key role. Apart from that, you have the PLI, which is a booster to the BCD trajectory. You also have the CPSE scheme, which essentially guarantees you a 10 gigawatt AC of DCR component. You have the KUSUM scheme, which is also pushing DCR for two of the components. Plus, there's also rooftop DCR component available in India. So if you see the totality, I think government is gone beyond anybody would to create a market framework for DCR. A, B is also to support the industry and communicating directly, indirectly. You go, please come ahead and invest into manufacturing units over here. Even the broad PLI framework that the government is talking about is not limited to cell and module only. It also includes wafer. It also includes polysilicon. So the vision of the government is essentially starting from polysilicon to the end. That's the whole idea. And what the country might give a manufacturer, at least 50 to 60% of the production will find a base demand in the country where the manufacturing units are coming up. That's what the thumb rule of a manufacturing units are normally, that you should have a base demand available. And then once the base demand is met, essentially manufacturing units gets amortized towards the break-even cost. And whatever produce further than that is pure margins. So essentially you have a 60 to 70% base demand from the country, and you still have an option to export 40% outside India. So it's a pretty healthy mix for a manufacturer, or to that matter any manufacturing unit. One of the reasons that manufacturing units have come up in China is because you have a huge base demand in China. They're not dependent only on exports. They are catering to the local needs, and they're also exporting. Same has been the case for wind power projects, where most of the wind manufacturing came up in Europe. Why? Because Europe created a base demand, and then they started exporting from that. So that's the cue for any manufacturing unit. And this is very much clear with the government of India also, and also institutions like IREDA. Yes, I agree. These are new. This is a sunrise sector, and things will keep on evolving. But one thing is very clear: the intent is positive. So the government would be there, the institutions would be there to resolve any implementation issues that might crop up, that might come up. Which is, some things can be known well in advance. Something you have to innovate or improvise when things are under implementation. And I think that this government has been very, very clear on this part. We also have resolved the issue on the safeguard duty, on the GST pass-through. I agree, it's been delayed, but finally it is happening. So that something is very clear. That's a positive part from the government. And I can tell you from IREDA's perspective, IREDA is into financing of projects, and we have given sanction to more than 3 gigawatt of cell line manufacturing in the last 6 months. Now that shows how the industry is also reacting to what the government intent is. And there are more and more inquiries coming up for setting up manufacturing units, either for cell line, for new module line, even for EVA sheets, for batteries, for inverters. So we are receiving a fair amount of applications. Obviously, we are scrutinizing those applications based on their financials. But yes, there is definitely a positivity that we can see that the policy intent has created. And as we proceed further, you'll find a huge amount of interested players getting into this space, and the space is going to be fairly competitive. Thanks. Over to you.
Thank you. I'll come to you, Mr. Das. In August last year, our organization, Council on Energy, Environment and Water, tried to compare the cost of manufacturing of solar modules in India with respect to China. And we realized that the difference was coming in the range of 33%. Of course, if we control for other factors like scale, the difference was coming to 20-21%. However, one thing was very clear and very evident from the data that we collected from Indian manufacturers was that the cost of capital in India is very high compared to the cost of capital for their counterparts in China or maybe other countries. Now, you did mention that you have sanctioned in the range of 1,000 crores for Indian companies, Indian manufacturers, and Mr. Shah just mentioned that 3 gigawatt of cell line manufacturing has also been supported. But at the same time, I would want to understand what are the changes in the broad ecosystem that may be required to reduce the cost of capital, because if we have to vertically or horizontally integrate manufacturing, the capital requirement will be in thousands of crores. Not just, module is of course less, but wafer, polysilicon, cell manufacturing, it becomes a very important aspect. So what do you think will be, say, the prerequisite that you would ask manufacturer to come up with, where then IREDA is very much comfortable in sanctioning, but also sanctioning at a lower rate?
Last 3 months, what we have added sanction to this solar and module manufacturers, they are our existing borrowers. and they have gone for capacity expansion. That means it is confirming they are successful in as on date, and they further want to expand. So there is no question of this capital issue at all here. And these three, I can name them also: Premier Solar, Bikram Solar, and Wari. They are our three borrowers who has taken in last couple of months. In fact, I should say 3 to 4 months. And any existing manufacturer expanding and coming to us and taking. And see, cost of capitals as a lender, we can play the crucial role by reducing the borrowing cost first of all, and which we have attempted in last 6 months very aggressively. We have, I joined IREDA in May 2020, when our total composition of borrowing was 55% from forex and 45% from domestic. We had all multilateral and bilateral agencies, the World Bank, KfW, JICA, and all others. So generally, what you feel, a perception that you get a very cheaper rate from there, but they give us for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. When you go for the forex hedging, practically it is becoming costlier today. If you see our total borrowing composition today is 43% and 57%. From 55 to it has come down 43. Whenever available, whatever domestic market, we have entered into the market and we have taken at a very cheaper rate also. And immediately we have passed on to the borrower. So that is what the important thing is that. And these borrowers, who are existing borrowers, they find comfort with the same person, because our processing, speed, culture, everything is quite comfortable for them. And I don't find capital will be a problem, at least debt capital will not be a problem. I don't foresee at all here. And if you look at the constant IREDA, what it is having last 4-5 years, IREDA itself was having net worth constant, like since last 4-5 years, our net worth was almost stagnant. Because if you see, prior to 4-5 years, Government of India used to pump in every year some equity to IREDA for development of the sector. And because of Government of India's policy that every company has to give compulsory dividend, so that infusion stopped and dividend started paying. So as a result, what happened? Net worth became stagnant. Then our borrowing became restricted. Recently, in the budget announcement, you might have heard that 1,500 crore Government of India has decided to pump in. So what it indicates, when Government of India is thinking other CPSEs divesting, taking money to government kitty and leaving it to private TA, here Government of India is pumping in fund. So that means this sector, this capital issue, whatever is there, when I had meeting with RBI senior officials in last 15-20 days, I appraised them about the sectoral issues also. And they have given us some the concentration risk exposure limits, whatever is which was expiring in March, that they have extended for 2 years further. That means we can continue to lend further beyond the RBI prescribed limit, particularly solar and wind. So I don't foresee cost of capital would be issue. As our data technical has made it very clear, intent. Even I started with that Atmanirbhar concept, intent. If you have honest intention, Government of India and the IREDA MNRE, they are ready to be there to support you.
Thank you, Mr. Das. Now, moving to you, Sujoy, but I'll take a cue from what Mr. Shah and Mr. Das said. How important probably is the intent compared to the regulatory fine print, right? At the end of the day, would you still want the final BCD notification from, say, Ministry of Finance whenever that is implemented? There are possibilities of challenge in the WTO because of ITA1. And some of these things we actually do not know how they will span out. So when you are probably taking decisions to set up manufacturing facility in the country, of course, one thing that is very clear that the government is moving in the right direction. But what will be probably that trigger when you say that, okay, now we are moving to the country?
So no doubt on the intent. I think if you ask us, we would not wait for the BCD notification to come in, because if there is a government agency which has written something in public domain, then we believe that the government is going to stand behind it. WTO challenge and all is market risks. You got to, as an investor, there are certain risks which you have to take, right? Market risk is one of them, and I think we will figure that out. That's our problem. So from our side, again, as I said, no doubt on the intent. The intent is positive. The vision is positive. the tone of the message from the highest authority in the country is very clear. And I think all of that plays into, at least from our perspective as we look at India, we are in a position to offer a completely different alternative to the China origin supply chain for the country, right? Because we have zero dependencies on China. So for us, all of this is good news. And as I said, we definitely are looking at India. What would make us make that decision is really our internal calculations around timing. Also, just for your understanding, if you look at solar manufacturing, it's not so much a fixed cost game, it's a variable cost, right? Because if you look at the cost of the module, about 80% is 75 to 80% is variable cost, the BOM cost as we call it, right? And currently India lacks that secondary supply chain in country. So what we have to do is really base our investment case on importing most of the bill of material components till the local market scales up in terms of glass, in terms of aluminium frame, and there is a contradiction there. I'll give you one example. So India is the lowest cost producer of alumina in the world. But when we went out and tried to source frames for solar modules, they were 30% more expensive than the cost of frame in Malaysia, which does not have any aluminium refining. And the reason is there is a lot of inverted duty structures in terms of the way the GST works on input versus output, which kind of drives the cost of the bill of material higher. And this is a problem not just in solar, but also in wind. And we've been advocating with the government through MNRE to address some of these issues, right? But I don't think we're going to wait and people are going to wait for these. These issues will keep happening. I do believe that with the announcements which the government has made over the last 1 month, the government has done what it was planning to do. And now it's up to the industry to reciprocate and take the positive step forward.
Thank you, Sujay, for, yes.
I said, as far as this intent as well as facilitation of the things, I'm just giving one information. In last, because of COVID, as Mr. Ghosh said, and we all know that the development of renewable has gone down if you compare to the previous year and all. But in IREDA's disbursement figure, what it was previous year probably will be doing much more than that. Second thing, we have ensured that minimum visit of our borrower to our office. In last 6 months, we have sanctioned 3 loans to our borrowers. They have never visited to our office before sanction. So after sanction only, probably for documentation they will be coming. So this is nothing but a step, ease of doing business, what Government of India announced, and we being part of Government of India, we implement and we do it. And through this forum also I am communicating to all our stakeholders and borrowers particularly that the time to come, you need not visit. Our people will visit, the technology will visit you. We will go through VC to your house. That is what we are doing. Anything pending with 15 days, their team and our team sitting together and having a VC and sorting out. So that if intent is there, then resolution can happen and problem will be there. And India is such a complex system and we have federalism. Like Mr. Ghosh said that PPA. See, when you are signing a PPA is the basic fundamental on which the trust will be there, when the business will be there. Because be it developer, be it lender, be it employees, everybody is depending on that figure. Tomorrow if you question, no, I am getting some lesser rate, why I will give you this much? So that kind of thing. Yeah. But since we live in a very democratic society, so, and just one more information I am giving as far as this Andhra PPA issue is concerned, I think Mr. Ghosh is talking about Andhra PPA issue. From 8th April onwards, I think, every day hearing will be there to sort it out in Andhra High Court. So that is what the intent now also. Be it government, be it judiciary, be it PSU. So everybody is taking the thing in a very different perspective now. So that intent part is very clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Can I add something? Thank you, Mr. Das. I think the other part about the intent is the intent of the industry, right? And I would say that the perception and perhaps a lot of reality is that India was essentially looking, the industry and the investors were essentially looking at with a trading mindset, right? You buy X from country outside, do some value add and sell it, right? There was a lack of focus on backward integration. And I think the whole call of Atmanirbhar and the whole strategic shift in terms of after COVID, especially that to look at how do you create supply chain in your country, that mindset change has to have also happen with the industry, right? We got to go away from this trading mindset where all you're looking at is a trading margin, right? To really looking at backward integration, and it's a hard walk. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be cheap either, right? So as a consumer, as IPPs, you also got to, respect the local value chain, partner with the suppliers, because at the end of the day, module manufacturers would ultimately need orders from the IPPs, right? And so I think this whole trading mindset has to convert into innovation and backward integration, and then you can achieve this whole self-reliance, right? Otherwise, we will just remain a module assembly, 16 gigawatts of module assembly and 3 gigawatts of cell. That's the story, right? And so you've got to invert that, right? And I think it's not an easy walk, but with the policy announcements, the government has announced the intent. Now it's up to industry also to change. And unless that happens, the tango won't happen.
Right. That's a very important point. And you did mention the numbers. One thing that we are also seeing, I mean, if you are comparing with China, the scale of the manufacturing facilities, that's humongous, right? The top 10 probably manufacturers have facilities greater than 10 gigawatt itself. So maybe even when the industry or the manufacturers are thinking of setting up facilities, they need to probably start thinking of in the range of 5 gigawatt, 10 gigawatt. But of course, the question around the offtake always remain. Only once a clear demand is seen or trajectory is seen, that would happen. But I'll take a cue from the points that you have made, and then I'll move to Ms. Vadesra. There are two important bill of material that goes into the manufacturing of solar modules is the solar glass and the EVA backsheet. Currently, there are certain tariff restrictions that exist on both of these, which then also decreases the competitiveness of the Indian module manufacturers. And at the same time, while we have to support module companies, we have to also support EVA manufacturers and the glass manufacturers. But there's a dichotomy, and I think something similar also exists in the inverter business, specifically where the components also have a good amount of duties on them. So how do you, Sunil, think that what is the way out of this? Because the government cannot have preference for one industry, right? There is this, you have to support the all industries.
Absolutely right. As Mr. Ghosh also mentioned that trading is what maximum manufacturers in this industry are doing right now is the trading. So that actually we need to look in that direction, that we start stopping that and start having the supply chain ecosystem in such a way so that everything which has been used in these modules or inverter should be locally produced and then consumed. So what is happening in inverter, like definitely Sungrow is also being a global company, we have to maintain the quality standards, and that is what we are focusing. But considering the today's scenario in India, what is happening that we are facing the challenges in supply chain. IGBT is one of the major heart in the inverter, on which currently our dependency is completely on the overseas. We need to import the IGBT. There is no alternate option right now available in India. So even we are pushing our vendors that India has very big potential, there is no worry at all in India. So they should come up forward, and even we are pushing our vendors that they should establish the factory like Sungrow has done, so that till the time that complete ecosystem doesn't get ready. So it's just assembly which is going to happen. But still, the class which government has categorized like in class 1 or class 2, where the value addition need to be counted, whether it is the 50% or 40%. So Sungrow is always targeting in that direction, and even I think many of the manufacturers in inverter are targeting to comply the class 1 requirement, which says that at least 50% of the local content should be there in the product which is getting manufactured locally. Now coming to the export part also. I want to touch export as well, because we know that Indian market currently is doing around 9 to 10 gigawatt in a year. But considering 300 gigawatt, which has to happen maybe by end of 2030, then at least 30 gigawatt should happen every year from now onwards, which is not going to be easy. But at least even if we target 15 to 20 gigawatt in a year, then the capacity which is having right now in inverter, I think it is going to have more capacity in terms that will have space to export also. So there are still loopholes in the policies, which maybe I'll request through this setup that government should take those corrective actions. This PLI scheme has been given to module supplier, but there is nothing in the inverter industry. So it should be there for the inverter manufacturer as well, so that a manufacturer like us get some motivation to expand this capacity and to increase the export as well. So that is the Rishabh I just want to
Okay,
add.
thank you. Maybe if I may ask one more question to Mr. Shah, and we can then open up to the audience for questions. In addition to module and cell manufacturing, is IREDA consciously also looking at developing the say the EVA industry, backsheet, glass, or maybe inverters for IGBT? Is that the list of the industry that IREDA plans to support in the short term or the medium term?
So IREDA is in the area of to finance and develop RE sector in India. Our mandate does not say no to it. Number one. Number two, when I was listening to my fellow colleagues over here, I would just like to cite an example of the auto sector. So when Maruti came to India, Suzuki came to India, it also brought it vendors. If you see Honda coming to India, the vendors also come. That's very unique about auto sector. Wherever the auto manufacturer goes, the vendors follow. And how do they follow? And why do they follow? Because the auto giant guarantees certain offtake from the vendors. I think the same model is required in India by the solar sector. If Sungrow is planning to set up their units in India, it should tell that vendors that, okay, I'll offtake so much of IGBT from you. I'm quite sure the vendors would be very comfortable in setting up shops over here. Similarly, a module manufacturer should also tell, or a cell manufacturer also tell their vendors, okay, I'll at least offtake so much, because they do give a commitment to the banking industry that this is the type of sales they're going to do, and that's how the banks finance those manufacturing units. I think a similar commitment also needs to be given by those manufacturers to their vendors. And yes, as IREDA is concerned, IREDA will be very much positively at looking at financing EVA manufacturers, backsheet manufacturers, anything that gets into the supply chain for any renewables. I'm not even limiting myself to solar. It's wind also, it's okay. If it is compressed biogas, we are fine. So the question is then the commitment for the end manufacturer comes from the government, while for the vendors has to come from the manufacturer. So that's how I would view it over here. Over to you.
Thank you. Yes.
I think just to add to what Chintan said, as you look at the BCD is basically going to attract, incentivize manufacturing of the end product, which is module and cell. Now, if we have, and I'll give you our example, like globally, wherever we set up manufacturing, we will bring in our supply chain along with us, right? And we believe that the PLI scheme, the way it is incentivizing, so if you have more local value add, you get more PLI. So to us, the way the government is thinking about probably is that, yes, you put the BCD in as an import barrier, brings in manufacturing, and then you have the PLI, which will help you to get in local supply, because the more you localize your supply chain, the more incentives you get from the government. So there is an implicit incentive in the PLI scheme. And the only way at least Super League manufacturers would work, because we do bring in that scale, not just in India, but globally, is that you have long-term contracts, right? Because for that EVA manufacturer, even if he goes to IREDA for financing, IREDA will say, okay, where's your revenue certainty? So unless you have that long-term contract from the OEM, it's hard for these component suppliers to get financing, right? But I think glass, frames, EVA, some of these components should automatically start to come in, because the PLI is going to drive a different behavior, as opposed to what the current behavior was, is to import from the lowest cost point, right? If you have this 10 gigawatts of module assembly, they are also using these components today, but they are all importing from outside because they would gravitate to the lowest cost point. But now with the PLI scheme coming in, there is an implicit incentive being created by the government too. So I think, this will drive you to create more backward integration.
Interesting. So,
To this, you wanted to know what IRIDA is doing. See, recently we have amended our memorandum of association object clause that anything directly or indirectly connected with renewable energy, that we are going to finance. So definitely the scope will be a little bit. And even coming back to Mr. Sujay, what he said, Mr. Ghosh, what he said, that I agree, because whenever some new thing or new policy or new concept comes, as a lender, the lender is the first person who have to struggle for it, because you have to think bit of out of box to consider your loan proposal in there. And this is the practical experience what we both are having in our board when we are sitting also, to convince our other board members, like be it CBG, be it access to energy. Even a couple of days back, we had a detailed deliberation this about that off-grid, something I think small grid connectivity issues are there. So IREDA is taking all kind of initiatives where normally an NBFC or banker is not looking into those things. And if you look at RECPFC, they were not into solar before 5-6 years. So once the sector is stable, then they have come in. So all these developmental activities pertaining to this lending issue in the sector, and whatever uniqueness will come, definitely IREDA will look into and will have close interaction with the prospective developer and borrower who will do it. But one thing is very clear, we are living in a different era now, where transparency, fairness and accountability is in place. So those are gone days before 50 years or 30 years, 40 years, somebody comes and takes the loan in the name of development, and then after some time you don't find them. We have history of certain borrowers like that also. Not only you, all the bankers might be having that. But today things are very clear. Be clear what you want. Your intention should be clear and transparent, and be accountable. Thank you.
thank you for sharing that mantra with us. How much time do we have? 5 minutes. Okay. So maybe we can take 2 questions. Someone can raise their hand if you have any question, and then probably come to the mic if there's any question. Okay. Okay. Everyone's good. Okay. If there's any final comments, happy to take that. Sunil, you want to say something?
Inverter side, we want that some PLI, the similar kind of thing which is there in module, is actually required to keep these manufacturers motivated. So that is the only thing which I think right now government need to modify a bit, and rest I think with this duty BCD implementation things are going to get better. So only thing is the PLI which is missing right now for the inverter manufacturers.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sunil. Thank you everyone for attending, and this panel has a very unique combination of a solar module manufacturer, inverter manufacturer and the lender. Of course, all three together can definitely make sure that we become more and more reliant as we move forward. The government has, of course, taken a lot of interesting steps, important steps, which have been pending for some time. BCD first, PLI, both for solar modules, and PLI is now, Sunil is saying that maybe that will also help the inverter business. There are some maybe voids in the offtake challenges. There are some challenges now on the contractual front, but the government, as we heard Mr. Das and Mr. Shah, that the government is now working towards it. They give an example of Andhra on how there will be regular hearing on the PPA renegotiation. Once that is settled, I think definitely more and more manufacturers across the supply chain will come to India, and we'll be more and more reliant in the coming decade. Thank you everyone who attended, and thank you Mr. Shah, Mr. Das.
Yeah.
Mr. Ghosh, Mr. Badesra. Thank you.
Thank you, speakers. Before we close the session, I would like to request Mr. Subramaniam Pulipaka to give out mementos to our esteemed speakers. We start with Mr. Pradeep Kumar Das. Mr. Sujoy Ghosh. Mr. Sunil. Mr. Chintan Shah. And of course to our moderator, Mr. Rishabh Jain. Thank you, sir, for moderating this session. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We start the next session immediately, so please bear with us. The topic for this is Solar PV Recycling Action and Direction. Please be seated, all of you.